This is going to sound like so much hate, and I swear it's not.
Welcome to the Warner Brothas podcast. My name is Keenan, joined by my brother Kyle, joined by Timmy. We're getting dangerously close now to the playoffs. We got college football on right now, Notre Dame, Penn State. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. It's been a wild day, but doing great overall. What's the score of this Penn State Notre Dame game?
10-3 Penn State. Notre Dame is driving right now. First possession of the second half. Riley Leonard just hit a big play down the sideline to get them down to the 20. So this game's going to be on simultaneously as we're doing this. I can't miss it, but you know what? Obviously, the pod matters here too. I want to talk NFL. Timmy, how are you?
Doing really well. I've been looking forward to this episode specifically. This is one of the funnest episodes that we do. Get to do the most exciting games here, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, you get to, obviously, like, the preseason episodes are always so fun because you don't know what the season's going to entail. And then, obviously, predictions throughout the year are fun, but when you get to this point where you know all teams are, or if not all teams, 90% of teams are at least pretty to very good, and sometimes you get that 7 seed that's in. But this year we've got every team I like. I don't love the Denver situation, but I do think Denver's a good team. But we are going to jump in to the awards portion of this. Kyle did his tiers. That just actually dropped. You're seeing this. It dropped last night. For the people who are seeing this, you'll be seeing it on Friday. And then, obviously, we had my quarterback tiers that were in the morning. So we had tiers of the whole entire league, and now we're breaking down the awards of the year. And so we also have a game of the year, too, which isn't an official award, but we wanted to give game of the year as well. We're going to start, though, we'll start with Offensive Rookie of the Year. And I'm going to start with Timmy. Who do you think the Offensive Rookie of the Year is for you?
This one, I think most people will kind of agree on this. Props to Bo Nix, but Jaden Daniels will be the Offensive Rookie of the Year this year. He's been electric. Only had one down game the entire year. Brought this team to 11 wins when they were projected, I think, 6. It's a big deal. I think he's got this award locked up.
All right, Kyle, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think with most of these awards, there's not going to be too much dissension. Maybe like last year where you felt like, there's a few coaches, few players, whatever, a few rookies where you could go either way. I don't feel that way with these awards this year. Yeah, it's Jaden Daniels. I mean, I kind of mentioned it yesterday. I mean, me and Tim alluded to it yesterday when we were doing, you did your QB rankings. Jaden Daniels just seems like, obviously he's in his mid-20s, but he does not seem like a rookie. The NFL does not seem to phase him. He's making advanced throws already. He throws with anticipation. He obviously has the athleticism and the running aspect to his game. But just as a thrower himself, if you took away the running aspect that he has, and just as a thrower, I think he's the best thrower of the football in this rookie class. So props to Jaden Daniels. What a season. Definitely shades of RG3. Kind of got scary at some points, honestly, how reminiscent of RG3 he was. But, yeah, it's Jaden Daniels for sure.
So I'm a touch different. I have actually co-Offensive Rookie of the Year. And it's Jaden Daniels and Brock Bowers. I think that Brock Bowers' year has been completely slept on due to the fact that he is a tight end. And obviously it's usually a lot of these two come to be quarterback awards when you have dynamic quarterbacks, and Bo Nix was playing good football as well. He definitely deserves to be in the conversation, but Jaden Daniels for quarterback wise was definitely number one. The fact that he took a Washington Commanders team that people didn't really have much faith in, took him to 12 wins. I'll completely have all the faith, and I think he deserves the award. But Brock Bowers leading the all tight ends in receptions and yards already. Broke the records for both of those as a tight end for rookie season. So I think that Brock Bowers deserves Offensive Rookie of the Year as well. I have it co. But I definitely I agree with you guys. Everything you guys said about Jaden, I 100% agree. No argument there.
That's more than fair. I mean, Bowers was obviously a standout, especially when you're talking about a Las Vegas team that did not have much to cheer for. Bowers was the star of stars for them.
Yep.
And looks to be, a stud in this league for years to come. I mean, you can already say he's a top 3 to 5 tight end. Shades of our boy Rob Gronkowski in his rookie year. So shout out to Brock Bowers. I have no problem with that. Actually, like if the NFL were to vote Jaden Daniels / Brock Bowers, honestly think they should do more awards in pro sports when it's apt like this. Because Brock Bowers is more than deserving. And then obviously we talked about Jaden Daniels and all the reasons he's deserving. So I completely agree with that.
Yeah, Brock Bowers gets completely slept on because he's on a bad football team. Puka set the rookie reception record last year, and because they were on a playoff team, it made every single headline ever. Brock Bowers smashed that record by quite a bit. Malik Neighbors even broke that record, and neither of them got really any recognition for it. So I do like giving some recognition to a guy that literally just put up a tight end 1 season in his rookie year on a bad team with bad quarterback play. It's crazy to see what his ceiling will be when he actually gets a solid QB in there.
Yeah, for sure. And
Can I say something I wouldn't expect to say even 6 weeks ago?
yeah,
I actually think AOC is a solid QB.
He looked way better than every other quarterback that's played there in the last 4 years, even back to Derek Carr. O'Connell looked competent. The loss against the Chiefs was a tough one, but that wasn't even on him. It was on the offensive line. They had no idea what they were doing in that play, but he did pretty much everything he needed to do. The team is just really, really bad. So
For sure.
absolutely. And we'll just go from the offensive side of the ball to the defensive side of the ball. Defensive Rookie of the Year, who do you guys have? I think we probably will all have the same one.
I don't think we will. I know the betting favorite right now is Jared Verse. I know that's who I picked preseason to win it, so that'll look good if he does win it. However, I think Quinyon Mitchell is the defensive rookie of the year. He's been playing lockdown corner.
Shouts to Philly.
He's exactly this defense since that bye week, man. It had a couple struggle weeks here at the end, but it has played extremely well. He kind of took over for that aging back end that they've had there, and this defense has looked really well. So I give the nod to him. When I look at the stats for Jared Verse, I know he had a lot of tackles for loss and he had a lot of good plays. He had 4.5 sacks. If that was closer to 10, sure, I could totally see it. But 4.5 doesn't blow me away. I lean Quinyon here.
Fair enough. I actually got Jared Verse. I'm not even going to give you a rundown like I did Jaden Daniels because I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm grinding Jared Verse tape or LA Rams tape.
22.
You're right. He's the betting favorite. He obviously, anytime you watch a Rams game, his name's constantly brought up. He's constantly making plays in the backfield. He's constantly causing pressure to the opposing offense. Yeah, offensive or defensive rookie of the year, sure. That being said, I agree. Quinyon Mitchell is deserving. There's probably a lot of others who are deserving. It's pretty hard unless there's a runaway favorite, like a guy who's having a historical season from the defensive perspective. I feel like you could give it to a few players, whether it's a corner, whether it's a linebacker, whether it's a defensive lineman. Mm-hmm. So defensive rookie of the year is always the hardest for me to score unless you're having an all-time great rookie season. Especially you mentioned Philly. I want to give Byron Carter some love, or what's my man's name? Byron what?
Jalen
Carter. Yeah,
Byron,
I don't know. I was thinking Byron.
You're Jalen Carter here.
He was looking like prime Warren Sapp this year. So that's going to be something obviously to look out for in the playoffs. He was playing like a man possessed this year. So I definitely love what Philly's done with their defense in general. Quinyon Mitchell being a great part of that. So shouts to Philly, shouts to Quinyon Mitchell, shouts to Vic Fangio, the DC in Philly. So
I have Jared Verse, and the reason why is not just because he's the betting favorite. To me, the Rams team had a very big potential defensively to have a letdown. Obviously, you lose Aaron Donald, and you lose, obviously, probably the greatest defensive player of our generation, if not on the very, very short list, if you want to try to argue one or two, whatever. But one of the greatest defensive players of our generation, you lose that when he's still producing at an extremely high level. Your defense is set to take a dip, but obviously there's a lot of other young pieces. They've got a young D-line, and on the back half of the football. They were playing better towards the back half of the season, but Jared Verse was one of the guys who stood out, made plays, as Timmy was talking about, a lot of tackles for loss and just getting pressures on the QB in needed, timely situations. I felt that the Rams defense had an opportunity and a possibility to fall, and I don't think they fell to the level in which they actually think they almost progressed in certain aspects. And I think a lot of it has to do with Jared Verse. So I have there, but I think Quinyon Mitchell, the way that Eagles defense revitalized itself, especially from the way it was looking early on in the season, I definitely think that Quinyon Mitchell is deserving of that too. And what Kyle said, multiple people can kind of win this award. We'll jump next into.
I also want to give a shout out
player
real quick for offensive rookie. You could also make a small case for Malik Neighbors. I just want to highlight him too because he had a great year. With
if he had a better back half of the season, he would have. But like he started off great. I know faded off a little bit, but still very good year. Don't get me wrong. Still
missed a couple games too. So imagine if he played the full season, he could have had that rookie record for sure.
Absolutely, he would have had himself a phenomenal. He had himself a very good year, 109, 1204, and 7 touchdowns. It's nothing to blink at. So that's definitely something.
Also, hat nod to Brian Thomas Jr. Same deal. LSU guys are just crazy. He lit it up on a team. He lit it up on a team that was bad all year long. He was like the one bright spot of that offense. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, LSU and Ohio State guys, they do their thing. But Offensive Player of the Year, I actually think this can go one of 3 routes. Or really one of 2 most likely, but kind of one of 3. I'm interested to see where you guys go.
I have co-Offensive Rookie of the Years, Jamar Chase and Saquon Barkley. Yep,
but yes.
Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase, Saquon Barkley, we got a Triple Crown winner. We got a 2,000-yard rusher. Both of these guys were extremely important in their offense. Without it, they wouldn't be, I know the Bengals weren't a playoff team, but they were a 9-win team. Without it, these teams are just completely different. So I'm going to go Co. I wanted to go Joe Burrow, but I don't know, man. I just can't do it. He didn't make the playoffs. Jamar Chase, Triple Crown. You got to give him some love for it.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. What if I told you I have trio Offensive Player of the Year? This has never been done before.
And you added Lamar?
Absolutely. I absolutely added Lamar. I got Jamar Chase. I got Saquon. I got Lamar Jackson. Everything Tim said. Jamar had the Triple Crown. Keenan, he had the year pretty much that you predicted Jamar to have. Like, he was far and away the best receiver that we saw this year. Saquon, 2,000 yards in 16 games. What more can you say? That's exactly – if you're getting that season out of Saquon Barkley, this is the season you expect the Philadelphia Eagles to have. So great 1-2 punch with him and Jalen Hurts as far as the short run game goes, as far as the run game goes in general. And then Lamar, honestly, like, I don't want to give too much away here. Obviously, him being in my rookie or Offensive Player of the Year conversation, him being a trio, a holder of it. Obviously, you know where I'm going with the MVP. That being said, I thought Lamar was probably the best player in the league this year, to my eye. The most complete quarterback, the most complete player in the league this year, to my eye. And obviously, his rushing numbers are a bit better than Josh Allen. Actually, Josh Allen's probably a little bit better as far as touchdowns go. But as far as yards.
Yeah, Lamar yards, Allen touchdowns.
But just to my eye, I thought Lamar was the best quarterback this year. Don't want to spoil MVP too much, but I'll talk about Josh Allen when it comes to that. So, but shouts to all 3. And honestly, we can talk about it more with MVP, but you could obviously make a case for co-MVP with Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson too. But that's my trio. That's my Offensive Players of the Year, which is kind of a cop-out, but hey, that's what you come to the WPP for. We got a variety of different stuff when it comes to awards, predictions, all that. So
I was in the same kind of boat where it's really between those 3. I think Joe Burrow would be a little bit of a distant fourth with how he played this season. But I ended up leaning to one, and I ended up leaning to Saquon. And I leaned Saquon a little bit because I do believe he definitely could have gotten the record. Obviously, we don't know because it would have been 100 yards to get, which is not Easy. He was doing that a game, so you would assume that he would have done it, but it's not easy. Obviously, it's the extra game, but even in 16 games, you still go for 2,000 yards. I think that over the next 15 years, I think it'll be more common that we're going to see someone again get the Triple Crown. We saw Cooper Kupp get it a couple years ago. I think we'll see someone again get a Triple Crown. I'm not sure we get another 2,000-yard rusher in the next 15 years, especially with how committee goes. We could. Don't get me wrong, like we could, because we probably didn't think going into this year it would happen just because of the way things are, but I lean Saquon. So Saquon is my one, but again, Jamar Chase, kudos to you in the year that you had. You earned way more money than you had coming in. Lamar Jackson, amazing. And then even people like Joe Burrow or even Baker Mayfield, the way they played this year. There's so many good offensive seasons this year. So I like that over though. Defensive player of the year this year. Who do you guys have? Timmy, start with you again.
This is one of the more tough ones for me. I did end up settling on Pat Surtain, I think, lockdown corner. He didn't have a necessarily bad middle to second half of the season, but the Broncos defense started to struggle a little bit towards the end. But he was kind of the leader of this. I think it'll be good to see a DB win this award. We don't see that too often. Typically, it's an edge rusher or an outside linebacker, edge rusher, whatever you want to call them. So that's what I got.
Okay. Kyle, how about you?
I actually originally had a co for this too, but I don't feel that's necessary with a trio for Offensive Player of the Year. I actually had Pat Surtain and T.J. Watt, but I'm going to give that all the way to T.J. Watt. Understand Pat Surtain had an incredible year, taken after his pops, by the way. He was a lockdown corner himself. But T.J. Watt, to me, popped off the screen more than anyone, any defensive player this year, to my eye. So I went with T.J. Watt.
My boy Aiden Hutchinson was well on his way until he got hurt. he was well on his way.
Also want to give
a
love.
sack in every game.
I also want to give love, and you could say this about his Defensive Rookie of the Year case a year ago. Christian Gonzalez, man, I mean, he just continuously was locked down. He's continuously a problem. I mean, to me, he's immediately a top 5 corner in the league right now already.
He's 2. He's just behind Pat Surtain.
Honestly, you could honestly make a case for 1. I mean, you can almost put him on an island already, and it's kind of scary. Mm-hmm. It's kind of scary.
I'm gonna settle on Pat Surtain. It was between him and Kirby Joseph for me, to be quite honest with you. I understand that the Lions' defense towards the back half of the season wasn't phenomenal, but obviously Aiden Hutchinson went down, and for a vast majority of the season, their defense was statistically even better. And on the back end, I think he had 9 picks on the season. He led the league in that category. So Kirby Joseph was one of those guys that I thought was able to plug and play in a lot of different positions, and he played very well for the Detroit Lions. But Pat Surtain, I ended up settling on. I think that he had a very good season, was one of the main reasons that Broncos defense was like it was, able to get after the quarterback too. I mean, when you have that kind of pressure and then you have Pat Surtain locking down on the side, it's tough. They have if they had a quarterback that you had more faith in, they would actually be a team that could scare the Bills more so. But obviously, Bo Nix being just such a wild card, we'll talk about that here in about a few minutes. But yeah. Anyways, we'll go on to this next award. The next one we will go to is Comeback Player of the Year. And who's you guys' Comeback Player of the Year?
For Comeback Player of the Year, I'm pretty sure the NFL had I don't know if they've tightened up the definition of this, and they said that they want to stop giving it to players that don't come back from an injury. If that's the case, J.K. Dobbins is Comeback Player of the Year. If they'll give it to anybody, Sam Darnold is Comeback Player of the Year. So those are my 2. If you're talking about somebody that came back from an injury, I've got J.K. Dobbins. But if you're just talking about, the Geno Smith type thing, the Joe Flacco type, I'm going Sam Darnold.
Okay. Kyle, how about you?
Tim, I'm glad you said that, because with this award, I kind of have the same issue that I do with the NBA's Most Improved Award, right? I feel like Most Improved, you could have that award, but you should almost have a separate award for breakout player in the NBA. and kind of break it down in two ways. In this case, because I think you could use it in both cases, whether it's injury or you're improving from your previous 2 or 3 seasons. In this case, Darnold's early career compared to this season, I'd rather they called it bounce back rather than comeback. I mean, it literally sounds like the same thing, but if you're bouncing back, you could say, oh, I'm bouncing back from injury. I'm bouncing back from early career woes. So I wish this was called bounce back. But that being said, Sam Darnold for me. Early career woes, up and down. We always saw the talent, never saw the consistency. This year, funny enough, I mean, it's more so to coaching. You got to give Sam credit too, obviously, but he's got an A-plus coaching staff over there in Minnesota. So shouts to both of them. Shouts to Minnesota for making it work, and shouts for Sam for putting the work in. And clearly his teammates love him. You saw probably 2 weeks ago, I think it was, after they clinched a playoff berth, where they like showered him with all the water bottles and shit. So clearly they look at him as a leader. Clearly they love him over in Minnesota. So shouts to him for the comeback of the year.
So I'm always a little like hesitant on like this award, because if it's coming back from an injury, does it matter how many games you missed with the injury? Like,
at least a
is there
substantial amount of time. You probably
would 7 weeks be considered a substantial amount of time?
I think
because Joe Burrow would be it,
season?
and that would be a walking away with it.
I think if they ever say out for the season, whether that's 2 months left of the season or if that's the whole season, pretty much they're willing to give it. So I would agree with Joe Burrow,
because I actually think Joe's going to win it, because obviously he started the year, he was hampered last year. And then, like, obviously he still played, and then obviously he went out with the hand injury, and he was out for a substantial portion of the season. And then, obviously, he had statistically a top 2 season this year. So, like, I understand, Kyle, which, like, if you don't want to call it that, then sure.
No, yeah.
Like,
I just have a hard time. I have a hard time believing he'll win it. We see players go out in week 10 all the time, not finish the year, and come back and have a great season. And Joe Burrow's case, in Joe Burrow's case, the difference would be like we thought there could be some hesitation with his injury. It was a pretty unique injury. I think that would be the case, but let's just take that out of it. If we didn't think there was any real weirdness with that injury, I think we would all expect him to have a great year coming back from being out for the season, especially given he's already had a season-ending injury.
Yeah, so like I'm with you guys. It's Sam Darnold if it's that kind of go there, but like otherwise it's Joe Burrow for me. It's one of the two. And if Joe Burrow can counts, I think it's Joe.
I mean, it's true. I mean, I'd have to look back on the history. It seems like more often than not, though, it's like a season-ending injury that happens early in the year.
Because there was also there was a little bit of the discourse to start the year. I mean, you had even skepticism on his hand and like how will he be able to throw at the same level? And then obviously he threw at a higher level. And so
for sure, and that's what I was saying. Like that's if you're taking it from that view, then sure he falls under the umbrella. It doesn't seem like that late in the season that type of injury usually qualifies for this award. But I mean, that's why it's the WBP awards. You know what I mean? We got our own qualifications for it. It's how we see it. So if Joe Burrow ends up winning it or being in qualification, makes you look all the smarter. So
yeah. So that would be mine there. Then we'll go to Coach of the Year. I'm interested to see where you guys go with this one, because I think I might have a little bit different than you guys. But go on.
It is hard to win 15 football games and not win Coach of the Year. I went with Dan Campbell. This team ravaged by the injured reserve. They had up to like 17 players on injured reserve. Most of them were starters, and he still managed to win these games down the stretch against good opponents. And then in the last game of the season with the 1 seed on the line, a defensive masterclass. It looked great. I think if there's a narrative award, that last game is going to switch the narrative to Dan Campbell. This is the most wins they've ever had in franchise history. They look like a Super Bowl favorite. Going with Dan Campbell.
All right, Kyle, you?
The only reason I'm not going here is because my trio looks insane enough already. So kind of the same thing I said with Defensive Rookie of the Year already. honestly, had the Chiefs won in Week 18, I probably would have gave it to Andy Reid. And I think he's just as deserving. Just like, as you know, Keenan, there was years where Belichick did a masterful job where they ended up with the 1 seed where maybe, you could argue that they could have got the 2 seed, or, someone should have took their throne and they still ended up with the 1 seed in the bye. You know what I mean? Or you mentioned Keenan, the 2015 year, I believe it was, where, and I think Gerard Mayo, former Patriots coach now, was a part of this, where we just got super depleted, still won our division, still, I believe, won the conference as far as regular season goes. And then we were in the AFC Championship game with the Broncos. He didn't get coach of the year that year. That's how I feel about Andy Reid. Honestly, I said all year. If you listen to the podcast, you know what I thought about that Chiefs team. Like it took that Steelers game for me to be like, all right, like they're every bit as good as their record says. You know what I mean? They just seemed such an underwhelming 1-loss team. And I truly thought they were going to go for it in Week 18. I thought they were going to let Wentz, just take the reins off, let him throw, let him have something nice on his tape, and, try to compete with the Broncos. They said, fuck all that. That being said, Andy Reid should at least be second. Kevin O'Connell's going to win. Kevin O'Connell's my pick. None of us had Kevin O'Connell in the playoffs. I don't think a lot of guys out there, a lot of analysts, a lot of experts, I don't think a lot of people had the Vikings in the playoffs. And they certainly didn't have them in position in Week 18 to just have the 1 seed overall over the Lions, over everybody, and for that team to be a 3-loss team and be a legitimate Super Bowl contender, that's a masterful coaching job. So shouts to KOC. He's my coach of the year. But Andy Reid would be a close second. Sean Payton would be up there as well. Sean Payton had a fantastic season. And then, like Tim said, Dan Campbell, absolutely. I mentioned it last night. There was several games where I'm like, you know what? It wouldn't hurt the Lions to just lose here. Or if they lost close, it wouldn't hurt. And oftentimes they won that game by double digits. I can't rave enough about that Lions team. So, yeah, you got 4 worthy candidates and probably even more too.
So I think guys like Sean Payton deserve consideration. Dan Quinn taking that Commanders team to 12-5.
Dan Quinn, absolutely.
I think he deserves it. I think Sean McDermott has a little bit of a, not like he's like should be leading the conversation, but that Bills team was not supposed to win the division for a lot of people. I had them winning the division, but a lot of people did not have them being able to sit their last game because they already got 13 wins. So I want to give credit to Sean McDermott there as well. Mine's actually with Tim. I didn't think he was going there, but I have Dan Campbell. And Kyle, you're right. The job that Kevin O'Connell did, amazing. And he deserves it all the much so. That last game, throw that away. Doesn't matter. They were a 14-win team, and no one expected them to be more than a 7 to 8-win team at max. But I think you see not to that extreme, which is why I'm fine with like you having that 100%, but you see a lot of times where you get a Dan Campbell situation or Dan Quinn situation where you get a team that's lesser, they get a lesser schedule, they get some pieces in the offseason, and then they have a rejuvenation and they jump up. We see 7 teams typically a year, not this year, it was 4, but 7 teams typically go from not in the playoffs to in the playoffs every year, and that's because of the kind of carousel that happens within the league and obviously the jockeying with rosters and everything. But it's hard to go from 12 wins to 15 wins when you have a first place schedule, when you solidify yourself as one of the best teams and teams are still hunting for you and you continue to get better. That is where, Kyle, you were talking about there. You mentioned it even with Dan Campbell. You talk about those Patriot level teams. You see the Chiefs do that. That's when you become from a very good team to a great team. Obviously, the Lions need to do more in the playoffs to really make them great. But as you said yesterday, Kyle, they carried themselves as a champion even though they're not a champion. And that's credit to Dan Campbell, and that's why I have them.
Never seen a team carry themselves that way that has not won a championship. I'm extremely impressed.
Mm-hmm. And that is why I have Dan Campbell as my coach of the year. It is so difficult to go from 12 to 15. It was the same way I felt Steph should have won most improved player when he went from MVP to MVP. He went from 23 points a game, 7 assists, to 30 points a game, 50, 45, 90, and went from a top 8 player to the best player in the league for that season. So, I think in those situations, most improved and that's coach of the year in the season. MVP, we've kind of semi-alluded to it because we talked about Lamar a little bit on Offensive Player of the Year. Timmy didn't give that away, so he could possibly have Lamar. But let's see, Timmy, who is your MVP of the season this year?
I flip-flop between the two, between Lamar and Josh Allen. But I eventually settled on Josh Allen. This is the most valuable player award, not necessarily the best player award. I think Lamar's supporting cast is far better than Josh Allen, so I think if you take Josh Allen out of the Bills, they are a far worse team than if you take Lamar off the Ravens. So eventually I settled on Josh Allen. He is more important to his team. He's the reason that they are a 13-win football team.
Kyle, you?
Took the words right out of my mouth, honestly. Keenan, you mentioned Steph Curry. I mean, this reminds me of the 2015 award where Steph Curry was the best player on the best team, sure, but I thought James Harden was the most valuable, and that's exactly it. Lamar, I thought, again, was the most outstanding player I saw this year, but Josh Allen was the most valuable to his team. And I know that out of the 3 seasons, out of Lamar's 2 MVP seasons and this season's probably the best, but Josh Allen to lead them. What, they have 3 losses total?
4 technically,
4?
but he didn't play the last game,
Sure.
other than a snap.
So 3 as a starter, really, for Josh Allen. Like Tim said, their offensive supporting cast isn't near what Baltimore's is. We thought there was going to be a little bit of dissension maybe in the AFC East. Obviously, Miami's injuries tilted that. Obviously, the Jets being the Jets tilted that. But Josh Allen did his damn thing. He's deserving. And it'll be cool if he does ultimately get this award. Wouldn't be mad at Cole if the NFL actually decides to do that, but I think Josh Allen's more than deserving.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, towards the beginning of the year, he played a tough game against the Ravens and Texans, but from that point, other than not a great game against the Colts that they ended up winning, with MVP, a lot of the time it comes down to moments. And as Lamar, statistically, in the way he played, he has dazzling plays, and you're like, wow, okay. When you think of big moments this year, what do you think of? You think, okay, a guy technically received, he threw and ran for a touchdown in a game. That was Josh Allen. 4th and 2, probably best player of the year or the most impactful player of the year. The one loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. Say if the Chiefs went and won the Super Bowl, the only team to beat them was the Buffalo Bills this year, and that was because Josh Allen put on a Superman cape in that game when he needed to. 3 rushing touchdowns, 3 passing touchdowns, even though it was in a loss to the Rams and one of the best shootouts of the year. Then you've got a big game against the Lions. You go and you play Detroit, and you have a big game against Detroit and get a W in that game. So, like, it's a lot of big moments. And when I think back on this year, a lot of it is when you're going to think of moments, and that's more so where I lean MVP. I think Josh Allen more than I think Lamar, even though Lamar had his moments. Don't get me wrong. The shootouts with the Bengals, obviously they blitzed the Bills early on. But I just think there's more moments with Josh Allen than there is with Lamar, and that's why I lean him MVP.
I will just for the sake of debate here, I can't necessarily say that with the moments. I mean, yes, Josh Allen had the 4th and 2 against the Chiefs, and honestly, Josh Allen had my favorite player of the year that got called back. He had that chest pass. I think was that against the Lions or the Rams? I can't remember because those 2 games kind of run together. But that chest pass was one of the dopest plays I've ever seen. In any play in the NFL, honestly. Like, that was just supreme confidence. It wasn't even like it was a hard chest pass either. It was kind of a rainbow. But I don't know. I mean, Josh Allen, you're right. Josh Allen had the better plays probably against the better teams, but man, Lamar had some like baller ass plays this year where he was just scrambling.
Oh, absolutely. No, he has some draw dropping. Only Lamar can do those kind of plays, but Josh also has like those kind of plays. And then the moment. Plays and moments are a little different to me. Like the moment, like the situation matters, and I think that's where Josh.
They're kind of the same
but
thing.
Play for
a moment is a play.
Not exactly. But I mean, we've seen a lot of deep threes from Steph Curry. The Thunder game when he pulled up from 36. I've seen him pull up from 36 plenty of times. That moment's different.
I feel you.
That season, that capital, like we've seen that shot again.
I'm being literal.
Yeah.
No,
so that's what I mean. Like
Josh Allen's
the moment makes a difference.
Josh Allen's got the more like, especially if they win the Super Bowl, you're gonna replay those moments, or if he just gets the MVP anyway. But I just think maybe it was in lesser stakes, but man, Lamar just had such like highlight plays where you could just tell he's just levitating on another level of QB,
Oh,
which is why I brought up
absolutely.
that whole thing with
Absolutely.
Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson over Mahomes right now. Like I don't think it's crazy to say like both of them are playing at a higher level in general. And you could, as you guys mentioned last night, you could mention, okay, Mahomes' weapons aren't great. Kelsey's not what he once was, but man, I could also say if Mahomes is playing on that, whatever season it was, 2018, 2019 level, maybe he's elevating these other guys. Maybe the way Josh Allen was with his lesser supporting cast. So it's fantastic. I cannot wait to see all three of them go to work, but especially Lamar and Josh Allen coming off their best seasons. So it's going to be a hell of a postseason, to say the fucking least.
Alrighty, and last but not least, the game of the year. There's about 6 of them that came to my head initially that I think we could possibly go with. I'm interested to see what you guys choose.
I am positive that my game is not one of the 6 that came to your mind. We had quite a few great games. We had a few 90-point games. But if you're talking about, for me, what was the most entertaining football game, it's got to be Atlanta versus Washington, Week 17. We saw Jaden Daniels in overtime go down and win the game. We had a bunch of lead changes. Both rookie QBs, top 10 picks, both of them. It was kind of like this dual setup. I just think we saw a lot of great things in that game. We also saw some bad things, bad clock management, quite a few bad things. But for me, I was on the edge of my seat. I was sweating out a fantasy football championship that week, and it was just extremely, extremely exciting to watch that football game and watch Jaden Daniels just do what he does. So that's who I got. I know that's not one of the 6 that you had in mind.
It definitely was a very good game. It wasn't the one that with the 6 that initially popped up. Actually, the Washington game that would have popped up for me first, honestly, would have been
Cowboys.
Washington Cincinnati.
Ooh.
Because also that would have, a very good one, yep.
Because that was like the welcome Jaden Daniels part. Washington was in a lot of them. Obviously, the Hail Mary was just an interesting play. You've got the Eagles game where they came back, the Cowboys game, which was just chaos in the fourth quarter. Like, Washington's been in a lot of great games, and I think we got another one in store here in the next 72 hours. Kyle, what do you have?
Just want to reply to Tim's game, man. Like, I was so conflicted in that game because I had a parlay at the beginning of the season for Detroit to make the playoffs, for Houston to make the playoffs, for the Chiefs to make the playoffs, and Atlanta to make the playoffs. And as you heard me talk about last night, like, I think ultimately it's better that the Bucs made the playoffs. I thought they were much better than Atlanta all around as a team, and I thought they present the toughest matchup coming out of the NFC South. But I'm wanting Atlanta to at least win that game against Washington. And what I will forever remember from that game is Raheem Morris at the half and at the end of the game, like, just neglecting the fact that he has timeouts. Had 3 timeouts, I believe, or at least 2 for sure, going into the final minute, and just bled the clock to about 30 seconds, maybe even less. I don't understand how a lot of these coaches just flub basic clock management. I mean, if I was a GM or if I was an owner and I was sitting in on these interviews, I would literally like have them do some sort of clock management training. Like, if this situation comes up, when are you calling the timeout? Because it's unbelievable how few coaches really do manage the clock well. My pick's going to be, by the way, I want to give an honorable mention if we're talking about the Commanders. Commanders-Cowboys, that was an insane game with an insane ending. It was a fucking lunacy of a last 4 minutes. Insane game. Reminded me of, I think it was Vikings-Ravens in the snow years ago, if y'all remember that one. Just insane amount of scoring in the last 2-3 minutes. I'm going to go with Bills-Lions, high-scoring game. As Keenan said, with moments. Marquee matchup. Josh Allen, was that the game he had 6 touchdowns, or was that the Rams game? The next one,
he didn't have 6 touchdowns in that one. He had 2. He had 2 touchdowns. 362, 2 touchdowns, and I think he had 2 on the ground.
So he balled out. They took it to the Lions, and I mean that's Allen's best case right there. Is that they beat the Lions, they beat the Chiefs. Insane game overall.
Mine is Bengals Ravens Part 2. So the first one was the overtime
that was
game
a
where
good one.
Evan McPherson off the bad snap missed a field goal. Justin Tucker hits a field goal. The second one's the 2-point conversion game on Thursday night, and that's the one that I chose. The game had everything. Jamar Chase went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. You had Joe Burrow throwing the ball all over the lot. We talk about Lamar plays. I believe that was the play where he had the where he was kind of rolling out of the pocket and ended up dishing the ball to the side for that 80-yard touchdown on the sideline. I think that was that game and not the other one. I could be wrong on which Ravens-Bengals game that was, but there was just so many moments from Ravens-Bengals Part 2, and
You could even
the
combine
sequel
them
lived
both,
up.
honestly.
I know,
They were
honestly,
basically the
I
same game.
wanted to be cheap and go just Ravens versus Bengals. I wanted to be cheap, but I decided to pick one, but honestly, it would just be Ravens versus Bengals. Yeah, so Ravens Bengals was mine, but I think we have a lot of games. There's a lot of games that obviously we can't just mention them all. Honestly, like there's so many games that have happened throughout the season. We have so many moments, but I think we have a great crop of awards here. But we're going to move on to our picks. Obviously, we usually go through all 16, 15, 14, 13, whatever the NFL likes to give. We got 7 this weekend on Super Wildcard Weekend, and we start on Saturday, and we start with the Houston Texans spot. They love the 4:30 Saturday game. Oh
All they've
boy,
ever
they
played.
love play.
All
All
they've
they
ever
play is on Saturday. So we've got the Chargers heading to Houston. Houston is a 2.5-point underdog at home in this game. What do you guys say about this game? Timmy, start with you.
I have not loved what I've seen from the Texans. Prior even to the Christmas game, that game was a terrible game, but we've kind of seen this all year. They've kind of high expectations, and we just haven't really seen it. I've liked what I've seen from the Chargers to finish out the season. So with that, I'll take the Chargers to win this football game pretty convincingly, 26-18. You said they're 2.5-point underdogs, so crushing the spread on this one.
Oh no, the Texans are 2.5-point underdogs, but
Right.
yeah, either way, you're still
crushing.
still 5 over. It doesn't matter. Comfortable taking that. Kyle, how about you?
Yeah, man, this Texans team, they're the worst team in the playoffs to me, honestly. I could see, I mean, since they are at home, they're a different team at home than they are on the road. I could see this being competitive in the first half. Ultimately, I have it 32-20 Chargers. I just think they're a better team overall. They got the better coach. D'Amico Ryan's a good coach himself, but I would like this game a lot better if at least Tank Dell was healthy. You got Tank Dell, Nico, and Joe Mixon. I probably picked this at a one-score game, but I think the Chargers got it here. You got them at a dome. That defense is decently healthy. You got J.K. Dobbins back, coming off a good game, by the way, and Herbert's playing the best ball of his career. Chargers taking care of business in this.
I've been actually back and forth personally on this game. I ended up leaning Chargers 27-23. The Chargers haven't been great yards per carry against the run, and obviously Joe Mixon's been running the ball very well. They're like top 6 for like worst, or so bottom 6 technically I should say. Houston's top 2 in picks, top 4 in sacks, so they have a recipe, and they also have a quarterback who's been in the situation and poise. But overall, the difference is Jim Harbaugh. If this was Brandon Staley in the same exact situation, the same exact way this happened, I would probably pick the Texans, but Jim Harbaugh is the difference. He is a big game coach. He is a well-oiled machine. He obviously takes programs and makes them better. He's done that his entire life. And with that being said, I lean the Chargers 27-23. Next, we will go. What's up? Sorry. Oh, I thought Kyle had said something. My bad. Next, we will go. Pittsburgh is heading to Baltimore, and Baltimore is 9.5 point. Baltimore is 9.5 point favorites against Pittsburgh, and I'm gonna quickly go on this one. 30-17 Baltimore. I think you got the monkey off of Lamar's back of the I can't beat the Steelers, blah, blah, blah. Yes, Penn State just scored at 17-17 with 10 minutes left. Notre Dame's going to win this 24-20 24-1 as I thought, but now it's going to be 24-20. But anyways, Lamar got the monkey off of his back kind of thing and he even said it himself of they beat Pittsburgh. He had a very good game against Pittsburgh. And right now, Russell Wilson is back to, he can't score above 17 over these last 4 weeks. He's back to 17-point Russ. Oh boy, love that with the Broncos with your 16, 17-point Russ. So because of that, we got it 30-17. The difference in this game is Derrick Henry. There you go.
If they get Derrick Henry out running, this shouldn't be a close game at all. The first game that they played, Steelers-Ravens, boring game. What was it, like 18-15? It was all field goals from the Steelers. I think the Ravens win this one. I think it will be close most of this game. I do. But I think they're going to pull away in the fourth, and they're just going to play defense and lock it out. So I got it 24-16. I don't quite have the 9.5. Like I said, I think it's pretty much a one-score game most of the way through. I would love to see a blowout. I would love to see the Steelers, make it to the playoffs at 10-7 again and get blown out in the first round. Who could have predicted that? I have no idea.
Kyle, how about you?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna go. My head says it's gonna be a blowout in the Ravens' direction. But the fact that it's Zay Flowers, the fact that it's the third matchup for the Ravens and the Steelers, I think it's going to be a close one. I think it's going to be a grinded out game. I don't know if it's going to be reminiscent of the game that started all these softer rules where the Ravens and Steelers were knocking each other out. I think that was like the 2009 playoffs. I think it's going to be super physical, though. I actually saw a video earlier of John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin discussing the rivalry and just how well they know each other, how similar their teams are. I think it's going to be shades of that. I'm going to go 23-17 Ravens, but I do think it's going to be a tough game overall. Actually, let me give it 23-20. Let me give it a field goal game. Justin Tucker for the win. You want to talk about monkey off the back? Okay. Justin Tucker is going to redeem his clutch gene this week.
All right. Next, we go to Sunday slate. We start off there. That's Denver heading to Buffalo. Buffalo is 8.5-point favorites right now. Buffalo does this. They blow out teams quite often. Obviously, they've had the Skylar Thompson scare. But most of the time, Buffalo takes care of situations like this. They average about 34 points in this. I have them at win 34-20. Rookie quarterback on the road. I understand Sean Payton's there, but that's just a tough spot for anybody, especially this team who got a rest, or Josh Allen got to rest. 34-20 Buffalo.
I also think it'll be a very convincing win for Buffalo. I got it 29-17. I know the spread opened higher. I believe it opened at 9.5, and now it's down to like 8.5. I think this is, Buffalo, they tend to dominate these games. They get a first-round matchup at home against a lesser opponent. We saw it last year against the Steelers. I don't have any reason to believe that won't happen again this year. So 29-17, convincing W.
Absolutely.
I saw it, Timmy. I saw it.
What?
The pick? I don't know. Sorry,
I did not. I'm not up to that. Thanks. You spoiled it.
You're that far behind?
I don't have it on the actual live stream, so I'm like 45 seconds behind.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
It's okay. Sorry. It's okay.
Sorry, Kyle, go on.
Like the both of you guys, I got the Bills in a convincing win. Like Keenan, I have the Broncos scoring 20. Unlike you guys, though, got a little more explosive. I got the Bills putting up a 54 spot on them. I got Josh Allen matching his 6 touchdowns in the regular season, 6 touchdown postseason performance. That's actually, spoiler alert, that's one of my bold predictions. So there you go. That's one of them early. Maybe I'll give you another one earlier to complement that. But 6 TDs for Josh Allen, 54 for the Bills, and an easy win. Congrats to the Broncos on a great regular season, but it's the Bills' time. It's Josh Allen's time.
We all have the AFC the same. Let's hopefully we have a little bit more discrepancy in the NFC. Next game, we've got Green Bay heading to Philly. I don't know if it's going to be here, unfortunately. I've got Philly 28-22. If Jalen Hurts for some reason doesn't play, then maybe I would change that. I think
He's playing.
I doesn't say he's playing, but for some reason there's just some weird setback. But 28-22. I like the Packers. I don't love the Packers. I very much like the Eagles. They have a little bit of better of a defense. They have a better ground game. Even though they have better weapons on the outside, even though the Packers may have a more dynamic passing attack because of the way LaFleur draws it up. But the only really edge that they have in this game is quarterback and coach, which is the one you want in the playoffs. But I think that the Eagles with Saquon are a little bit too good. So 28-22 Philly. But I do think it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a fun one.
Do you have the spread on this one?
Oh, sorry, I didn't say it. 4.5 Philly.
Oh, it's 4.5.
I think we get like a backdoor cover. I think this is going to be really reminiscent of the Vikings-Packers game that just happened a couple weeks ago, where the Vikings are up. The Eagles will be up by closer to 2 scores, and then they score a touchdown, have an attempt at getting an onside kick, but we just don't see it. So I think 27-25. I pretty much echo everything Keenan said. However, we did see the Green Bay Packers knock off an NFC East team right here. Judging by Keenan's reaction, I'm assuming I'm about to see something on this live stream. So,
sorry, Kyle.
No, I kind of want to wait this out and see what happens.
I don't want to say it. I need to see.
We can edit it after. We can edit at least on the audio version. We can edit. But I kind of want to hear what happens.
I'll tell you where I'm at. I just saw a QB draw for about 13 yards. So I'm assuming it's the next play that I'm about to see.
That's incredibly rough. Okay. Kyle, go on, and then we'll talk. I'll tell you after when Timmy sees it, you'll see. Oh, my God.
A couple things. If you mentioned QB coach combo, funny enough, Keenan, if we were to do like rankings or tiers that way, I think I'd have them like side by side. Hurts and LaFleur, Love and Sirianni, or sorry, Hurts and Sirianni, Love and LaFleur. I think I'd have them side by side. Now you guys got to tell me what's going on. You got to tell me what happened in this game. I got to hear it before I go.
I have to see what the flag is, but they just threw a pick in the end zone.
Okay.
So Notre Dame had the ball on their own 15, and he threw a pick. So Penn State had the ball pretty much already in plus territory, and now they take a shot to the end zone, and they throw a pick.
Oh, my.
But there's a flag. I'm waiting to hear.
My guess is it's going to be called back.
We got pass interference on the defense.
That's
ball
rough.
back to Penn State.
And people are upset. Michelob Ultra just made its way to the field, so foreshadow there.
I didn't quite see pass interference. I do see double coverage, and it's tight coverage.
I don't see pass. That ball was uncatchable.
Uncatchable for sure, and it's yeah. I would agree. That's a really tough.
That's a tough call for a Notre Dame fan. Ira's irate, pun intended. Kyle, go on.
I think this game's going to be close. Man, like Tim said, man, it seems like there's not many there's tough games here, but it seems like this is ripe for an upset. I'm not going to pick it, though. I'm going to pick Philly 31-27. I am going to give you the blueprint, though, for the Packers. If they get a great Josh Jacobs game and they can just chew up the clock and allow more opportunity for their defense to rest, their defense is healthier, but as I alluded to last night, I don't think their defense is tough. I think Philly's defense is tough. I think Green Bay's defense is good enough, but I don't think they're tough like Philly's defense is. So that's where I give Philly the edge. I think Saquon's going to have a big day, but I think Josh Jacobs also could have a big day. And if he does, Green Bay is going to have more than a chance. And I expect a field goal game or a one-score game as I have it. 31-27, though, Philly.
All right. Next, we move into Washington going to Tampa. Tampa is 3-point favorites at home. This is almost essentially a pick 'em in the sense of you typically get 3 points for being at home. I actually have Washington winning this game 30-27. I think Jaden Daniels on the road goes in there, does something that rookie quarterbacks don't typically do, which is going to get road wins, but I do like them in this scenario, in this situation. The Bucks are susceptible against the pass, and the passing attack for the Washington Commanders has been getting rolling. Terry McLaurin's going to be a problem for them. Zach Ertz is going to play a big role for them. Olamide Zaccheaus has been a big portion of their offense here as of late. So I think that you're going to see a massive Jaden Daniels game, and you're going to have back-to-back years where a stud rookie quarterback gets a win on Wildcard Weekend.
I think me and Keenan have the exact same bracket. I have Washington winning this game. Not quite high scoring as you, but I have it 22-20. I think we're just going to get a back and forth game here. I think we could see a ton of lead changes in this game. Mm-hmm. I don't think you can necessarily say either roster is clearly better. I think you would lean the Bucs side, but the way Jaden's been playing, the rushing factor, I think they can win this football game, and they're going to do it 22-20.
Listen, I think this is going to be a coin flip game. I do have it 34-37. I'm struggling with who I want to pick. I was actually going to pick Washington, and I'm probably going to stick with Washington. I kind of want to go against the grain here for two reasons. A, because you both picked Washington, but B, because it's fucking hard to bet against Baker Mayfield and Todd Bowles at this point. Like, we mentioned Coach of the Year. Todd Bowles deserves to at least be in the conversation. Not in the upper echelon, but at least in the conversation. I mentioned with the Lions, like anytime you think it's actually going to be like a week off for them or they're going to take a loss, it doesn't really happen. That being said, I mentioned it last night. This is a Spider-Man meme game. These guys are the same exact team. They each have talent on defense, but their defense doesn't really perform up to standard. And Jaden Daniels is that dude. And Baker Mayfield is that dude. And they each have quality running backs. And they each have quality receivers, or at least quality number one receivers. Quality tight ends. Like, these couldn't be more mirror images of each other. Defensive coaches. That being said, 34-37. I'm going to go with the Commanders. If the Bucs end up winning, I'm not going to be in the least bit surprised. So this is going to be the game of the weekend, though, I believe.
Yeah, this one, or I think the next one, has the potential to be the game of the weekend as well. And it's Monday Night Football, even though technically it's the start of next week, so it may not be the weekend. But Monday Night Football, we've got Minnesota heading to the Rams. Rams are 2.5-point underdogs in this game, and I actually have the Vikings covering at 34-31. I understand that they lost the last game to the Lions and they didn't look great in that game, and you have a little bit of a blueprint, put a lot of pressure on Sam Darnold, see how he adjusts to it, but Kevin O'Connell is a great coach. He can foresee things like that coming, especially with a young pass rush in the Rams that we actually highlighted earlier, talking about Jared Verse, our Rookie of the Year, our Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think they're going to be well prepared for that situation, and Justin Jefferson's going to have himself a monster game and show why he's one of the best receivers of our generation. The Rams have just the Rams are going to come prepared to play, but I just think they haven't been buttoned up the way that I would like to have seen them, and I can't change my whole opinion on this Vikings team because they played a not great second half against what I believe is the best team in the conference for sure. So, and I believe that even if they would have lost, I would still believe that they're the best team in the conference, in my humble opinion. But 34-31 Minnesota, I think it's going to be close, but I do think that the Vikings have the better team, and they're going to come out with the win.
Our first flip-flop of the bracket.
I knew you were going Rams. You're a Rams guy.
I think we're going to get a pretty defensive game here. So I'm taking it 20-17. I don't think it's going to be super high scoring. One thing to note, this game is now being played in Glendale, Arizona. This is because of the LA wildfires. They're moving it. LA doesn't necessarily have that much of a home field advantage, but whatever they did, they probably lose it moving this game a few hours east. So I'm going to still take the Rams. O'Connell was a Sean McVay coaching tree, so I think we get the master, takes care of his pupil or whatever you want to call it. I just think we're going to get an okay game, mostly defense, 20-17.
I agree with a lot of what each of you said here. I think this is going to be the least entertaining game of the weekend in a way. Um, even though we have two quality teams here, I'm going to roll with the Vikings. I think a lot of people are going to bet on the Rams this weekend. I think a lot of people are going
Oh,
to
absolutely.
expect the Rams to win this game, and it's got all the makings of it, right? The better the better regular season team versus the playoff season team in the Los Angeles Rams, right? Um, that being said, like I told y'all last night, the Rams were just not consistent enough for me to get all the way there for them. Otherwise, I'd honestly probably pick them. I'm going to roll with the Vikings, though, 27-17. I do want to say this more. I'm looking at this bracket. I would love it. I think I'm going to be rooting for the Buccaneers. Though I picked the Commanders, I'm going to be rooting for the Buccaneers so we can get Bucks Eagles. I might even flip picks there. We'll see. I already submitted it, so who knows? But I might flip. I would love to see Vikings Lions next week, and then also get Bucks Eagles next week because the Bucks play the Eagles very well. We obviously saw what happened last year. Obviously, this is a different Eagles team, so y'all might see me flip. Obviously, only have like 3 minutes to do that because we're moving on to the next part of the bracket. But
Okay. So obviously we have our matchups here for round one. We can then just go. I'm gonna go onto my divisional matchups here. I'm gonna start on the NFC side and then go to the AFC side, of course, because we already have the games picked. We know what mine's gonna be set up as. So in the NFC, I've got Detroit seeing Washington because I have Washington beating Tampa, and I have Detroit winning that game. And then on the other side of the bracket, I've got Philly seeing the Vikings, and then I have in a very close game, I have Philly winning that game. I don't know. Do you want me to go AFC 2 or do you want me to stop a conference or do you want me to go bracket? You know what?
I
I'll
don't
go
care either
AFC
way.
2.
I don't
I'll
care
go.
either way.
I'll go AFC 2. Just get to the conference championship. You guys give your divisional round them,
Sure.
and then so on the other side, we've got the Chargers going to see Kansas City in a very good game, I think. But Kansas City is winning that. I don't think they're losing a divisional game at home. The only thing that the Chargers have on their side is their division opponent. Seen them twice already in the season with a very good coach, and the Chiefs are on like 3 weeks rest. They've done it before, so like they know how to do it. But sometimes you get that rest versus rust thing. For them, it's typically just rest. We've seen it for like the Ravens in the past couple of times. That has been rust, but that would be they get out to a slow start, maybe can't come back. But then we get probably game of the weekend, which would be Buffalo and Baltimore in Buffalo. I've got Buffalo winning that game in a fun one, but Buffalo winning that one.
Score.
So, I'll give you a more definitive one next week if we have that,
Sure.
but probably say 30-25-ish, roughly there. Close game, but like a one score game for sure, but like 30-25-ish roughly in there. So we've got KC versus Buffalo in Kansas City, and then we've got Detroit against Philly in Detroit. Then you guys take over.
I'm gonna go real quick because I'm gonna flip. I'm gonna go with the Bucks. Give me the Bucks. Reverse my Bucks Commanders pick. I'm going Bucks. So we're gonna have Bucks going to Philly, and we're gonna have the Vikings going to Detroit, which I think will shape for a better divisional round. Starting in the NFC, we're gonna go Vikings Detroit. I'm gonna go in the direction what I thought we'd get in Week 18. We're gonna get a closer game. Still going to end with Detroit, though. We're going to go 24-27 Detroit. I guess I don't even got to give scores, but I'm going to go with Detroit in that game. And then Philly and the Bucks in a close one. I know I changed the games, but I'm still going Philly there. I believe Philly will take care of business at home. Philly is an extremely tough place to play. That's a pretty chalk lineup as far as the NFC goes, 1 versus 2. Lions and Philly in the NFC Championship game. Now,
I'm all chalk. I'm literally all chalk.
Except for the
from
Washington
Commanders.
game. Yeah.
Except for the Commanders, but like
Even the Vikings.
No, but I mean like my AFC and NFC championship games are just a 1 seed versus a 2 seed. I'm all chalk. Don't feel bad. Also,
sure.
Notre Dame.
What do we got? What do we got for time left in that game?
About 4:30, 24-24.
Oh wow, it's not crunch time. Where's this game being played, by the way? Where's the neutral site?
Where's the Orange Bowl played?
That's Miami.
I think right now. Miami, yeah. Texas also has a favorite. Gets to play in Texas in the Cotton Bowl tomorrow. But anyway, so you've got Detroit, Philly in the NFC, and in the AFC, you've got.
Look, I'm gonna pick the Chiefs right now, but if we get this matchup next weekend, I'm gonna tell you right now, depending on how the Chargers look, subject to change. Because it's gonna be tough for the Chiefs to beat the Chargers 3 times. It's gonna be tough to beat Jim Harbaugh 3 times and Justin Herbert and J.K. Dobbins 3 times, along with that defense. So I'm going to roll with the Chiefs right now. And then in the classic, I'm rolling with the Ravens over the Bills. I think the Ravens are the better team in that matchup, truly. I think they're the more complete team. And we saw them manhandle the Bills early on the season. I believe it was week 4. Yeah, I got the Ravens in that game. Tough for the Bills because the Bills just always seem to be brokenhearted, but I'm going to roll with the Ravens.
Okay, and so Kyle has Detroit, Philly in the NFC and Baltimore, KC in the AFC. Timmy, what do you have?
So in the NFC, I've got Washington versus Detroit. I think Detroit wins that one, moves on. And then I have the Rams versus the Eagles. I think the Eagles win that one. So I have Detroit versus Philly in the NFC Championship game.
As we all do.
In the AFC, I'm actually flip-flopping right now. So I obviously have the Chargers and the Chiefs. This is not a flip. I'm taking the Chargers. I think they get it done. I think they knock the 7-10 Kansas City Chiefs out of the playoffs.
I literally hope. Oh my God.
Yep.
Please.
I think this is
Jimmy. 6 colors ahead of us, Jimmy.
I think if I get the commercial reference, but I think if the Texans somehow win this first round game, the Chiefs will just blow them out. But the Chargers can stick with them. So give me the Chargers moving on to the conference championship game. And then obviously we've got Buffalo versus the Ravens. This is where I'm flipping. Originally I had it Buffalo. I think the Ravens are the better team. I think we get an absolute barn burner game in this one. You'll hear it in my bold take here in just a minute. So in my AFC championship, I've got the Chargers, the 5 seed taking on the number 3 seed Baltimore Ravens.
Okay, and then I'll quickly go with mine because I started. I've got Buffalo beating Kansas City. I've got Detroit beating Philly, and I've got Buffalo Detroit. I have not changed off my. I have not been off my Detroit feeling all season long. I thought they're the best team from pretty much in the NFC since the start of the season, and I think they're still that. So Buffalo just took the place of the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati became the 7th seed. You know what? We would have gone my same pick to just stay consistent. But yeah, I got Buffalo and Detroit in the championship for the Super Bowl. Kyle, what do you got?
Listen, as far as the NFC goes, Detroit, Philly. Philly's the perfect foil for Detroit. As far as what they can do, as far as clock management, as far as running the ball, as far as making things easy for Jalen Hurts. There's a recipe. It's right there. It's dead in the face what Philly could do to beat Detroit. But I've given Detroit way too much praise to back off of them. I'll say it again. They're the most impressive non-championship team I've seen in a while, as far as how they carry themselves, as far as how they handle their business. This is their year to at least make the Super Bowl, right? It has to be. It has to be. And this bye week is only that much more important for them. They're going to get just a little bit healthier. And really, that's all they need. I mean, they've been the class of the league this year. I know KC's got the record as far as, the best record in the league, but Detroit's been phenomenal this year. Absolutely phenomenal. So I'm rolling with Detroit in that game. Ravens Chiefs part 2 in Arrowhead. Y'all know where I'm going with this. Come on, I'm going Ravens. Ravens all day. They're the best team in the AFC. I mentioned last night this would be my dream Super Bowl, Ravens versus Lions. I think it would be just box office, man. We might get a 40-point each way type of game. I mean, we might get that, like Tim said, we might get that in the AFC divisional round between the Ravens and Bills. But I could see the exact type of game, especially in the Superdome, between these two teams. So I'm rooting for that. I believe that was my preseason pick. And I really see no reason to back off it unless Lamar, turns into, 2003 Peyton Manning or, just how Lamar's been in his career. I see Lamar not only with Derrick Henry, but just being more mature, finally getting over the hump. Not saying he might not have some ugly moments this postseason, but I see them getting over the hump.
Peyton Manning beat Tom Brady in the playoffs. It did happen. He took a while, but he ended up beating Tom Brady in the playoffs. So, I mean, at some point you would think it happens with obviously him being that Peyton Manning kind of style. For me, it's I have Josh Allen in that same kind of mindset of at some point they're going to beat Patrick. He's not going to go perfect. And if he does, he's still not the GOAT. Whatever, hate him. Timmy, what do you have?
If Patrick Mahomes gets Triple Crown, you can't even argue it anymore.
I absolutely can. He doesn't have seven Super Bowls.
It's okay.
He doesn't have
It's okay, Keenan. Tom never won 3 in a row. It's okay. So I've got the Chargers for
Super Bowl rings yet. Sorry.
AFC side, Chargers versus Ravens. I think we get a great Horror Bowl again. I think it's going to be a little bit closer than the first time they played, but inevitably the Ravens get the dub again, moving on to the Super Bowl. And then on the other side, Eagles-Lions. Hopefully they will have David Montgomery back for this. They could probably hold him out of the divisional round and just say, hey, we get it. Let's just get you healthy.
I honestly hope they do.
I really do too. If they do that and they have a fully healthy Montgomery in the conference championship game, it makes me all more confident. But I'll take the Lions no matter what. Lions versus Ravens Super Bowl. Here we go.
With Montgomery, was it a torn MCL or was it a sprained MCL?
Sprained, I think.
It was a sprain. However, they had to go to 4 different doctors before they found somebody that said he didn't need surgery. All 3 of them said, I need to operate. And the 4th one said, no, you're good. So maybe the 4th one's name was maybe the 4th doctor's name was Dr. Dan Campbell, and he was just like, yeah, he's good, don't worry. So
it's possible. It's possible. Yeah, they need to hold him out just one more week for me to feel confident. When I heard that on Sunday Night Football that he might be coming back, I was like, Jesus, that's a little much. But they could get Aiden Hutchinson back too, which would be all the better.
All right. And Super Bowl wise, I've got Detroit Buffalo. We all had Detroit in the preseason. I had Detroit Cincy. Timmy had Detroit KC. Kyle had Detroit Baltimore. We all had Detroit in the preseason getting to the Super Bowl. We all now have them in the pre to the postseason in the Super Bowl. And I have actually Detroit beating Buffalo in the Super Bowl here. I have Jahmyr Gibbs as my MVP, and I'm going to give my first
all the demons.
And I'm going to have my first bold prediction with it. Jahmyr Gibbs has a 200-yard scrimmage game on only 10 touches.
You're going to have the Percy Harvin type game with the Seahawks and Broncos.
I think it's going to be like 8, because you'll have the Sonic Hedgehog, or Sonic Knuckles, rather, they like to call themselves that, and you're going to have 8 carries, probably 115 yards, a big touchdown, and then you're going to have like a big 75-yard, 80-yard screen pass, something along those lines, to where it's about 200 yards on 10 touches. So that is what my Super Bowl is. Jahmyr Gibbs MVP, having himself legendary.
So the Bills are getting carved up,
game.
You're saying?
Oh, I think this game will be just a repeat of game 1 a little bit. I mean, not like the same thing, but probably like 34-31. Like we saw Chiefs-Eagles, Eagles-Patriots, in that vein rather than Giants-Patriots kind of thing. So I have that. Kyle, what do you have?
I just want to say, wouldn't it be funny with all these potential matchups like Lions-Eagles, Lions-Vikings, Bills-Ravens, Ravens-Chiefs, Bills-Chiefs, like whatever way you slice it, we got like some high-octane matchups. Wouldn't it be funny in one of those matchups if we get like a 6-3, like we like to throw out when it's like Titans-Raiders at the end of the season, or like a 9-4 game, something like that?
It'd probably be it'd be a Chiefs game. It'd probably be Chiefs-Bills. And the Bills defense would just come to play, and then it'd be like Mahomes makes a play, or Allen makes a play. Something boring.
Um, Ravens, Lions. My dream Super Bowl, my preseason Super Bowl. Same thing Keenan said. I mean, I don't see any way this wouldn't be high scoring. I don't see any way that it at least wouldn't be high 20s to low 30s. I would imagine both teams would get to 30, honestly. Um, I got the Ravens, man. I got the Ravens. I think they can do it. I mentioned how Philly would have the recipe. Guess what? The Ravens are a more explosive version of what Philly could be. Their defense isn't as good as Philly's, probably isn't as tough, but they can still make plays. They can still get stops. So ultimately, I mean, hey, when it comes to curses, we're talking about the Bills, we're talking about the Lions. Wouldn't it be so Lions to get all the way there after all the praise I've given them and just like lose in the most heartbreaking fashion? So Ravens over Lions. I hope this is our Super Bowl. Either way, I do think it's going to be Lions for somebody. And, if it's not the Lions, it's going to be Philly. But, man, it just seems like it really does seem that way. It really does seem like the Lions are just in such a different class than everybody at this point,
they'll come out
especially
to
in the
Detroit
NFC.
versus everybody, too. Oh, man, that'd be fitting.
They might just.
Timmy, what are you? Oh, Kyle, MVP Lamar, I'm assuming?
Lamar.
Yeah.
So my Ravens versus Lions, I totally agree. We're going to get a high-scoring Super Bowl, and that's what I love. I love to see, when we saw the Chiefs-Eagles, that was a very high-scoring one. I think it was the highest-scoring one, and it was a very fun game to watch. So I'm going to be happy either way unless the Chiefs make the Super Bowl because we're going to get a high-scoring Super Bowl. Inevitably, the Detroit Lions will end the curse, and they will win their first Super Bowl. Jared Goff will be Super Bowl MVP. He's been here before. Doesn't look like he played very well in that first one, of course, but exercises his demons, gets it off his chest, and takes home the hardware.
Absolutely. And then you have one of the best trades of all time for both teams. You have the Stafford for Goff trade, where both teams win. Goff wasn't winning with that Rams team. Stafford probably wouldn't be at the same. I mean, Stafford's shown not to be at the same exact level as he was then. So, absolutely. Yeah. Great. So let's go into bold predictions. I have Lions over Buffalo. Kyle has Ravens over Lions. Timmy has Lions over Ravens. But all of us don't have the Chiefs making it there, and all of us hope that the Chiefs do not make it there. I've already given.
Before we go on, I just want to say I cannot wait to do like the game by game predictions that we do as the weeks go on. Like after this weekend, like we did our dive for this weekend, but for the most part it was pretty chalk. Like I cannot wait for divisional round and championship weekend when we do our predictions.
Yeah, those are gonna be fun. Alrighty. I'm sorry. Yeah, they're gonna be very fun. I'm very excited for them too. But Jahmyr Gibbs, that's my one bold prediction already. 200 yards on only 10 touches. My second one, Jaden Daniels rushes for 100+ yards against the Bucs on Sunday night. So
I like that one.
He has himself one of those Colin Kaepernick style games where he's throwing for 250, runs for 100 kind of game, and a big win against the Bucs. And then the third one, Josh Allen rushes for more touchdowns than he throws for these playoffs.
Could see it.
Again, I think it could be a situation where, like, I could see them beating the Broncos, like how I have them beating the Broncos, him running for 2, throwing for 1, and then maybe a 1-1 or 2-2 in the next game. He's had those kind of games before. I could see him with 6 rushing touchdowns, 5 passing touchdowns, 11 touchdowns throughout a playoff. Obviously a lot, but I could see Josh rushes for more touchdowns than he throws. Alrighty, Timmy, go with your bold predictions, and Kyle.
I think specifically the Buffalo Bills versus Baltimore Ravens game. Obviously, they got to get there first, but if this game happens, I believe it will be a 90-point game. I think both teams are in the 40s. We put up 90 total points in this one.
That's crazy. Boom.
That's the first one. I think the Kansas City Chiefs, something like that, 50-40, 48-42, whatever it is. It'll be a great game. I'm hoping for a lot of points. I think the Kansas City Chiefs will have a touchdownless game. I think they will kick 4 field goals and score 12 points.
That is bold.
And I think that's how their season comes to an end against the Chargers.
That would be a masterclass.
I mean, they lost it. They lost a game where a team only scored to kick field goals. The Steelers kicked 6 field goals against them, and they lost.
Hey, if the Chargers do that, if the Chargers do that to the Chiefs, we might be talking Chargers Super Bowl in that case, because that would be a masterclass coaching performance. Keenan, before I get to these 3 bold predictions.
Wait, Timmy have one more?
Oh, shit, my fault.
2 more, actually.
I got 2 more.
That's right. You went before. That's right.
I got my 4th. Similar to Keenan, Jahmyr Gibbs to that 200-yard game. I think Amon-Ra is going to have a 200-yard game. I don't know when. I just think he's going to be peppered with targets. He's going to take them. Yards after the catch type style. So give me 200 yards for Amon-Ra in a single game. And then finally, a team will be eliminated on a double doink again. That is my final bold prediction.
I love it. Do you have any thoughts? Apu?
Give me the Chiefs. I think their black magic wears off. And I think they need a field goal to put them within
14-12 on a double doink.
A double doink.
Clearly Harrison Butker would have had a good game because he's made 4 field goals and just misses like a 48-yarder. Just bang, bang, bang. Chiefs fans would be so distraught, and I'd be so excited. Alrighty. So double doink. Kyle, what about you?
Be even more dramatic, by the way, if Butker got injured again and they had to use their backup kicker again, they re-sign him, and then he got a double doink.
That'd be so terrible, because then I'd hear that, well, if Harrison Butker was there, we'd be... No, doesn't matter. It didn't happen.
That excuse wouldn't work because of the game they won late in the year off the field goal post with the same kicker, or even if it was Butker. But yeah. I just want to say, we did bold predictions for 2025. Brings me no joy to say this, that one of them already might have came true with this LA Fire thing. As far as like one of the, I think I said like the surreal moment or one of the biggest moments since COVID. Definitely would not have expected it the first week and a half of 2025.
It almost happened the first day with that truck guy in New Orleans.
Yeah, honestly.
There's been quite a few things to happen already.
2025 has been insane already.
Big kick.
And the other one I saw, Keenan, was who knows if this is true, but I saw something about Brady wanting to bring Belichick into the Raiders. And I believe I said Belichick will be back in the NFL before the 2025 regular season. So could be 2 for 2. Again, I don't wish that as far as the LA one goes. That's terrible, and it's ongoing. But for my 3 bold predictions, I obviously already gave you one with Josh Allen with the 6 TDs. I'll give you another explosive offensive one. I don't know what the record is for most all-purpose yards, but I think Lamar is going to break that. Obviously, rushing and passing. So we'll go with that. And honestly, Josh Allen would have a great case for that as well. So either one of them, but I obviously got Lamar going to the Super Bowl, so I'll pick Lamar for that. My third one, this is right. This is like a Keenan Warner special right here. This is right in line with what Tim picked with with the Chiefs getting held touchdownless. I got a Patrick Mahomes, not 1, not 2, not 3, 4 picks game. 4 picks for Patrick Mahomes, whether that be against the Chargers in a win. I'm going to go with in the AFC Championship game against the Ravens. Just a disaster class performance for Patrick Mahomes. So though it's hard to see that happening at home, but that's exactly why it's my bold prediction. So there you go. That's my 3.
I love it. That's a Keenan classic. Mine was LeBron James has a 10-10 turnover game. I love.
You had one.
LeBron in those.
Didn't you have one where he was scoreless in the first half, pre-pod days?
Just LeBron James.
And like a very important game. He's just nowhere to be found.
No, absolutely. He's just nowhere to be found. No, I love it. Alrighty. Well, I am excited for these games. We've got, obviously, football on right now. We got a great game between Penn State and Notre Dame. This one's going to come down to the last seconds, and it looks like it could go to overtime, too, depending on how Notre Dame's D can hold up here. So That game's going to be great. Tomorrow we got Ohio State, Texas, which is going to be the NFL Bowl because there's going to be NFL players littered all over the field. Let's go. Anyways, sorry. And then we've got Saturday, Sunday, and Monday football. So a great weekend of football here we're going to get now. Sorry, Timmy. And this was the Warner Brothers podcast. Follow us on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, all at Warner Brothers Podcast. We appreciate you guys all tuning in, joining us here. If you haven't yet, check out the tiers, quarterback and the NFL team rankings that Kyle did. Well, mine's more of a ranking, Kyle's is a tiers, but check those out. And we'll be back with you guys recapping this beautiful weekend of football very soon.